I'm here. So y'all can think I'm a...
Nah, bro.
That ain't fair, man.
Hey.
I'm on EBT, bro.
Hey.
That's why.
Kevin McCall's viral meltdown reignited old tension with Chris Brown. Before the dust could even settle, Young Thug stepped in, confronting Chris face to face. What started as a calm private talk flipped into a heated back and forth that nobody could control. The air got thick, pride was in the room, and every word felt like a spark waiting to catch. The leaked footage from that night showed how deep it ran. No edits, no filter. October 20th, 2025, the whole music game witnessed one of the most gut-wrenching scenes in R&B history. Kevin McCall, 40 years old, sat down for what should have been just another podcast episode on Back on Fig. But this one cut different. Nobody saw what was coming. That almost 3-hour talk ended up shaking the streets, the industry, and social media all at once. It peeled back the curtain on one of hip-hop and R&B's most toxic feuds, exposing the pain behind the fame. About 45 minutes in, while the hosts were hyping him up for his raw talent, something inside him broke loose. He reached into his wallet and pulled out his EBT card, food stamps, right there on camera for the world to see. And then, in that moment, Kevin McCall broke down crying, the kind of breakdown that hits harder than any beat.
Why the fuck?
You have a testimony.
Why the
Tell your life.
get in on it?
I witnessed it.
He finna be in here.
Why the fuck I got an EBT card? And this is at Breezy Bowl and made 90 whatever the million, and it say KKKKK Mac. Can I get 25,000 for them four songs I owe you, bro? I just want to leave, bro.
Leading up to who he is.
I'm not even tripping though. I got an EBT card, my nigga. Like what, bro? I can't even get nothing, bro, man.
That moment was raw as hell. It hurt to watch, and it was impossible not to feel something. Sympathy, disgust, or both crashing together at once. This was a man who helped shape some of the biggest bangers of the 2000s and 2010s. A writer behind Grammy-winning hits that made millions. Now sitting there talking about using government help just to eat. The silence after that said everything. Kevin McCall kept it a buck. He opened up about being behind on $2,000 a month in child support for his daughter Marley, with his ex Eva Marcille. He admitted he hadn't seen his kids in over 10 years, and that hit like a punch. Then he got real about suicidal thoughts. No filter, no ego. Just a man cracking under years of pressure. Through the tears and the trembling voice, it was impossible not to feel that pain. Then came the moment that flipped the internet upside down. McCall looked dead at the camera and said, "Chris, give me the $25,000 you owe me for those 4 songs. Bro." He claimed those unpaid royalties could reach up to $3 million, saying a bad CBE deal robbed him of his fair cut. And that's when the contrast hit hard. While Chris Brown was running his Breezy Bowl 20 tour, pulling in close to 100 mil from sold-out arenas, McCall was out here using food stamps, ducking eyes in grocery stores, and carrying the weight of what could have been. That pain was too real to fake.
Say my name. Me and Heather went to the county building together. On my mama, together. We went to the county building together.
The clip went viral instantly, no cap. Within hours, it was everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, millions of views pouring in like wildfire. The internet lit up, and by the time My Mixtapez dropped the main clip on Twitter, it had already racked up over 9 million views. The streets were split down the middle, and the debates got loud. Some saw a broken man crushed by the industry, a walking reminder of how fast the game can love you, use you, and leave you. Others said he brought it on himself, a man who burned bridges, made wild threats, and was now crying when the weight came crashing down. But then, just when everyone thought it was over, someone unexpected jumped into the mix. Someone who actually had the credibility, the paper, and the pull to make something real happen. Enter Young Thug. Fresh out the jam, still standing tall, ready to show love when it mattered. On October 21st, 2025, just a day after Kevin McCall's breakdown shook the net, Thug hit Twitter and dropped a post that stopped everything. "Kevin McCall, hit me, my bro. I'll give you the $25,000 you need. I know CB would too. He a real one, just busy sometimes." That one tweet shifted the entire conversation overnight. It wasn't just words, it was a statement. First off, Young Thug offered to personally cover that $25,000 McCall said he was owed. That's real money, not internet sympathy. Second, he did it publicly, putting both McCall and Chris in a position where the world could see who stood where. And third, the one that made heads turn, Thug showed love to both sides. He defended Chris Brown while still extending a hand to Kevin. That balance? Almost impossible to pull off in this game. To really feel why it hits so deep, you gotta know how close Thug and Chris Brown really are. Their bond wasn't built on press runs or fake industry hugs. It was real. Back in 2020 during the lockdowns, the two linked up and dropped Slime and B, a 13-track collab mixtape that proved their chemistry. The lead single, Go Crazy, climbed to number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 and went 4 times platinum. Straight pressure! But beyond the music, their loyalty was different. When Young Thug got hit with RICO charges in May 2022 and spent more than 2 years behind bars fighting for his life, Chris Brown was one of the few who stood up. He didn't just post for clout. He posted "If Free YSL," spoke Thug's name with real care, and kept that man's legacy alive while others stayed quiet. That's the kind of loyalty that doesn't fade when the cameras stop.
They're actually basically on a text message saying word. That's all they saying. Like it's one dude saying, yo, do this, and one dude is saying word. What do you feel about that?
I mean, I can't speak on my brothers in them cases and
Right.
what they going on. I can only be who I always been, they brother. You
Right.
know, I'm a rock with them for life. It's us, never them.
So when Young Thug stepped up to help Kevin McCall, it wasn't no goofy move or switch up. He wasn't snitching on Chris Brown. He was trying to play peacemaker, showing compassion to a man clearly breaking down, while still protecting his brother's name. That's real G energy. Calm, loyal, and grounded in respect. When Thug said, "CB would give it to you also, bro," he a real one, just busy sometimes. It showed he wasn't choosing sides. He was reminding everyone what brotherhood looks like when pride's not in the way. And McCall responded quick, showing love. "What's up, bro? I'm just seeing this and about to DM you now." For a second, it felt like maybe, just maybe, this story could turn a corner. Thug, fresh out the feds himself and clearly trying to move with purpose, had already been giving back. Just a few months earlier, in August 2025, he'd hosted a charity event in Atlanta for local kids, proof that he was serious about change. So when he extended that hand to McCall, it wasn't clout, it was character. But if Thug's goal was to ease the tension, Chris Brown wasn't hearing it. On October 22nd, 2025, Chris hit Instagram stories with the petty dialed all the way up. Remember this, you can't walk across a burnt bridge, and you know what's funnier than a troll? A broke one, cold. That line sliced through the timeline like a blade. It was slick, brutal, and left no room for confusion. Reconciliation wasn't on the table. Brown's tone was final. No apology, no payout, no peace offering. The bridge between them wasn't just burned. It was ashes in the wind, and McCall was the one who lit it. That silence afterwards said everything. Twitter exploded again with timelines split. Roughly 70% of fans sided with Chris, saying the man had every right to move how he did. They pointed out that McCall had once threatened Chris's daughter, burned too many bridges, and turned down multiple chances to make things right. In their eyes, he wasn't a victim, just a reminder that sometimes the streets don't forgive twice. One viral tweet summed it all up perfectly. Before anyone says Chris Brown is being mean, context. Kevin McCall once threatened to kill him and his daughter, Royalty. That line set the tone across social media. Still, not everyone agreed. A lot of folks felt Brown's response went too far, like he was stomping on a man already broken. Kevin wasn't just out here wildin'. He was clearly battling his own demons, trapped in a storm of mental health struggles and regret. And the man he once helped rise to the top had just laughed at his fall in front of millions. It cut deeper, because Kevin McCall wasn't some nobody. He had a hand in Chris Brown's early success, penning hits that helped define an era. So for Chris to mock his poverty hit like a betrayal. Some fans started calling out the entire industry. How songwriters and producers often get left behind while the stars they built keep stacking millions. No matter how wild McCall had acted, many argued that if he was truly owed that money, he deserved to be paid. That's not sympathies, that's business. But to really understand this fallout, Kevin crying on camera and Chris clapping back without mercy, we gotta rewind the tape. Go back to when all this started, when two brothers in music were still brothers for real. March 9th, 2016, the day Kevin McCall decided he was done keeping quiet. Tired of the whispers, tired of waiting for fairness that never came, he jumped on Twitter and wrote directly to Chris Brown. "We need to sit down and handle this business. I tried the adult route. I feel my kindness is being taken for weakness." That post hit like a shot fired. It wasn't about clout. It was about closure. Kevin wanted recognition, accountability, and what he believed was his rightful share. Years of unpaid royalties and broken promises eating at his pride. But instead of a private talk or even a respectful response, Chris came out swinging. The very next day, March 10th, 2016, he unloaded on Instagram with a rant that left nothing to question. It was cold, sharp, and brutal. The kind of response that doesn't just end friendships, it buries them. In the post, Chris called McCall a bottom feeder, and then dropped a line that froze everybody. "Keep messing with me, and you won't be able to walk, let alone sing again." That wasn't just shade. That was a warning. The tone was final. The bridge burned beyond repair. For two men who once made hits together, it was the day loyalty died and war began. This wasn't just business anymore, this was personal. What started as a contract dispute had turned into a straight-up threat. Maybe veiled, maybe dressed up in slick talk, but a threat all the same. And everyone in the culture understood the weight behind those words. It was coming from Chris Brown, an artist with raw talent, musical brilliance, but also a past full of anger, fights, and public explosions that the whole world had seen. Kevin McCall, ever the defiant one, wasn't backing down. At first, he tried to keep it light, even sarcastic. He posted on Snapchat, "I'm Chris Brown's #1 fan, actually." Nobody could tell if it was mockery or mixed emotion. Probably both. This was a man torn between respect and resentment, hurt and pride. He once saw Chris as a little brother, someone he'd helped create hits with, someone he'd protected. Now that same person was threatening him. That silence between posts said more than words ever could. But the back and forth didn't stop there. It only got messier. 2016 became a year-long tug-of-war between pain and ego. McCall would go from demanding his release from Brown's label to giving him props for his success. It was like watching a friendship decay in real time. The type of toxic loop everyone from the block has seen before. Love turned into tension. Loyalty twisted into pride. By June 2016, McCall had had enough of subliminals. He dropped a diss track called Barusha, a flip on Brown's ex Karuechi's name, and it caught everyone's ear. He later admitted he wrote it to get under Chris's skin. Straight petty, calculated too. It showed how deep the bitterness ran. From brothers making hits to enemies trading insults just to draw blood. Then came December 11th, 2017, the day things really went left. McCall jumped on Instagram with a video that shocked the culture. He called Chris out by name, challenging him to a fistfight. "You a coward for bringing guns to a fair one," he said. He wasn't just questioning Chris's courage. He was attacking his whole image, that tough persona the world saw on stage. It was McCall saying, "Drop the bodyguards, drop the talk. Let's see what's real." That's when everyone knew this wasn't about money anymore. This was pride versus pride, and neither man was about to blink. And then came the moment that said it all. The final symbol that their bond was dead for good. Kevin McCall took his platinum plaque for Deuces, the very song that started it all, that helped launch both their careers, and smashed it to pieces on camera. The sound of that glass breaking felt like a closing chapter. "Deuces to my past," he captioned, a bitter twist on the track's title. That single act carried more pain than any diss could. It was like he was burying everything they'd built together in one swing. Chris Brown's response? 2 emojis. That's it. One with a straight face, one with tears of laughter, cold, detached, like none of it mattered anymore. And that silence, that casual dismissal, probably cut McCall deeper than any post, any statement, any curse word could have. In hip-hop culture, that's the ultimate disrespect. When your existence don't even warrant a sentence. "You're not worth the energy." That's when Kevin McCall crossed the line of no return. On January 6th, 2018, he posted a series of tweets that left even his closest followers speechless. If people thought the beef couldn't go darker, what came next made jaws drop. He wrote, "Chris Brown and his seed would be in a casket if he had anything to do with me being shot. Stop playing with rumors or I can't promise CB will make 29. I kept him alive for 7 years. Now in LA, let's be clear, that wasn't subliminal. That was a threat." McCall had gone from angry to unhinged, naming not just Chris, but his daughter Royalty, a 3-year-old child who had nothing to do with any of this. He called her his seed, and implied both father and daughter could end up in a casket if he found out Chris had been involved in his shooting. That's beyond beef. That's unforgivable. The internet snapped immediately. No waiting, no hesitation. Social media turned on him overnight. Fans flooded the comments, disgusted, shocked, saying what everyone was thinking. "I don't care how much you hate Chris Brown. You don't threaten a kid." Even those who had felt sympathy for Kevin's struggles, who defended him over the unpaid royalties, couldn't ride with that. In one night, he lost nearly every ounce of support he had left. There are lines you don't cross in this culture. In hip-hop, in the streets, in life. And threatening a child is one of them. That's sacred ground. Off limits, period. McCall tried to walk it back quick, claiming he was quoting the Bible, eye for an eye. Saying he didn't mean harm and that he actually loved Chris and his daughter. Even adding he'd kill for them, not kill them. But by then, the damage was done. His words had already lit a fire he couldn't put out. And that was the moment everyone knew. There was no coming back from this. The bridge wasn't just burned. It was erased from the map. He swore people had it twisted. Said they misunderstood him completely. Claimed it was all hypothetical talk. Just warnings about how rumors can spiral out of control. But that excuse didn't land with anybody. The damage was done, and it was permanent. Whatever sympathy Kevin McCall had earned, whatever valid points he had about unpaid royalties or shady contracts, it all vanished the moment he crossed that line. Once he threatened a child, nothing else mattered. He handed Chris Brown the moral high ground on a silver platter. The perfect reason to walk away forever and never look back. By 2019, McCall's behavior only got wilder. Out of nowhere, he jumped online again, this time wishing Chris Brown's fans would commit suicide. That one statement shocked even his supporters. It was dark, reckless, and heartbreaking to watch. Another bridge burned. Another window of redemption slammed shut. It wasn't just pain anymore, it was poison. His frustration had turned into something self-destructive, something eating away at everything good he'd ever built. Meanwhile, Chris Brown stayed silent. He didn't need to clap back. The chaos was doing all the talking for him. While McCall spiraled publicly, Brown moved with quiet confidence. No subs, no shade, just distance. It was the kind of silence that speaks louder than words. Then, in 2020, a resurfaced video hit the internet. In it, Brown finally addressed the situation. Not directly, but with enough sting to make it clear who he was talking about. Smirking, he said, if he wrote all them songs he claimed he wrote, why he ain't write no more. Simple, brutal, and it hit right where it hurt. That line exposed the truth that nobody could deny. While Chris's career had climbed higher than ever, Kevin's had flatlined. Brown was still selling out arenas worldwide, stacking plaques and collecting Grammys, while McCall's 2017 album Man of God came and went without a trace. His net worth, once expected to be in the millions, had dropped close to zero. It was a tragic picture of talent wasted, of a man who couldn't get out of his own way. But the story didn't stop there, not even close. Because while Kevin McCall was fighting his demons, wrestling with failed relationships, and battling mental health and substance issues that were pulling him apart, the world kept moving without him. Fame moved on, the industry moved on, and time, cold as it is, never looked back. But to really grasp how we ended up here, you gotta rewind, all the way back to the start. The rise and fall of a brotherhood that once looked unbreakable. To see the full picture, we have to go back to 2009, when a young Kevin McCall from Watts, Los Angeles made the kind of move that could only come from hunger and faith. One decision that changed his life forever and stamped his name into the game. Picture it. Kevin McCall, fresh out of college, a former student athlete chasing NFL dreams, standing at a music industry event instead of a locker room. The air buzzing with ambition, opportunity, and pressure. That's when he spotted Chris Brown. Just 20 years old, still picking up the pieces of his career after the 2009 assault on Rihanna that nearly ended everything. The industry had turned its back, and Chris was fighting for redemption. McCall saw his shot and didn't hesitate. In what he'd later call a moment of pure drive, he literally pinned Chris Brown against a wall just to make him listen to his demos. It wasn't arrogance. It was desperation mixed with belief. Hood hustle at its rawest form. No fancy introductions, no business cards, just a man betting everything on a chance. And somehow it worked. That moment sparked a bond that would go from friendship to brotherhood, and eventually to tragedy in motion.
Just come together.
Deuces came together. He was doing, In My Zone did well. So he wanted to click up with Tyga. He was a fan of him. He felt like he had buzz popping at the time. He wanted to link up with him and do a joint album.
Brown, intrigued by McCall's raw energy and recognizing that same fire he once had, invited him to the studio. What followed was a stretch of time McCall would later call magical. The era when he wasn't just a collaborator, but family. A real day one. Chris Brown signed McCall to his CBE, Chris Brown Entertainment, under a joint deal with RCA Records, setting him up as his protege during one of the most crucial chapters of his own career. This was Brown's comeback moment, the time he had to prove to the world he was bigger than his mistakes, that his name still meant hits and headlines. The pressure was high, but together, they turned it into music that spoke louder than words. The chemistry between them was natural, pure synergy. What they created during those sessions wasn't just music, it was movement. They dropped Deuces, the 2010 single featuring Tyga, and the track exploded, peaking at number 14 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became a breakup anthem for a whole generation and helped rebuild Brown's image. But here's where the story takes a turn. The kind that defines everything that followed. Deuces wasn't originally Chris Brown's record. It was McCall's baby, his creation, written from a place of heartbreak and honesty. He'd penned it after a breakup that left him broken and reflective, pouring his emotions into every line. That song was his story, his therapy, his truth. And it became the record that changed both their lives forever.
It's your song.
It was my song.
Ah.
It was a separate package from the whole thing. It's like, here's your 10 songs. Oh, and guess what? Listen to this in the car. He was listening to it the whole week. And he's like, nah, I need that song. I need that song.
Call handed Deuces to Brown on one condition. He had to stay on the record. Chris couldn't just take the whole thing and run with it. Brown agreed. brought in Tyga to lace the track with that extra energy, and the rest was history. Certified hit status. The song went crazy. It earned a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Sung Collaboration, and racked up royalties that changed McCall's life overnight. He said he cleared 6 figures off Deuces alone. Real money for a kid from Watts who'd been folding shirts at Abercrombie & Fitch just months earlier, barely keeping up with rent. It must have felt like hitting the jackpot. That moment when all the sleepless nights finally mean something. But Deuces was just the start of the wave. McCall stayed locked in, co-writing and featuring on Strip in 2011. Another record that had the clubs lit and peaked at number 37 on the Billboard Hot 100. He also played a part in Look at Me Now, the explosive track with Busta Rhymes and Lil Wayne, Chris Brown's first #1 single and a certified radio anthem. Everywhere you went, that joint was booming. McCall's fingerprints were all over Brown's FAME album, the same project that earned Chris his first Grammy and solidified his comeback as one of R&B's top stars. During that run, McCall didn't just write hits for Chris. He penned records for others too, including One Night Stand for Carrie Hilson. His pen was hot, his name was buzzing, and his spot in the industry looked solid. He was becoming one of R&B's most in-demand writers, and for a moment, it seemed like nothing could touch him.
1 second, it always felt better. If it was just me and Chris Brown, I don't think the record would be as good. I think it's the whole shebang. I think it's us three, and just, it was what was meant, and I never got jealous of either one of them. I always wanted the best for both of them, and I hope they wanted that for me.
For one shining moment, Kevin McCall was living the kind of dream every kid from the hood prays for. He was right in the middle of R&B's new golden era, working side by side with one of the biggest artists on the planet, dropping hits that would define the sound of a whole generation. Every party, every club, every radio spin, somewhere, his words were echoing through the speakers. Chris Brown publicly called McCall his big brother in interviews, and their sessions in the studio were more than just work. They were family cookouts disguised as creative marathons, laughter, energy, and love filling every corner. The chemistry was real. The bond felt unbreakable. That's the kind of connection people build empires on. But behind the success, under all the lights and plaques, cracks started to show. Faint at first, like fractures in concrete. And they weren't the kind you could just patch up. Those cracks turned into deep fault lines that would split everything apart. The first real signs of trouble started showing between 2013 and 2014. McCall began to feel boxed in, trapped under someone else's idea of who he should be. The label structure, the management, even Chris himself. It all felt like control instead of collaboration. In a 2015 Vlad TV interview that went viral, McCall opened up about it. He said Chris wanted him to push a grown, sexy thug image, something that didn't fit who he really was or how he wanted to move as an artist. That clash between vision and image was the start of everything unraveling.
I mean, Chris, he had this image of me. He wanted me to just grown, sexy, had his thug appeal. And we kind of just didn't see eye to eye. I didn't see the vision he had at the same time. It could have just been a small conversation. But for whatever reason, he didn't see eye to eye with whatever he was trying to do for my career at the time.
The breaking point came from something that, looking back, might seem small, almost trivial. But it triggered a domino effect that neither man could have seen coming. In 2014, Keke Palmer, that Keke Palmer from the memes and the movies, reached out to Kevin McCall as a fan. Wanting to collab on some new music, McCall, eager to prove he could stand on his own 2 feet outside Chris Brown's shadow, jumped on it immediately. This was his shot to build his own lane, his own sound, his own legacy. He and Keke linked up and dropped the video for Shorty Wanna Ride, and McCall was hyped, finally seeing light at the end of his own tunnel. But Brown wasn't feeling it. Not one bit. According to McCall, Chris called him personally and let it be known, loud and clear, that he didn't approve. No sugarcoating, no small talk. Brown thought the collab was a bad move, saying Keke's clean, Disney-type image didn't fit the edgier direction he wanted for his team or his brand. But beneath all that talk about image and branding, it wasn't really about music, it was about power, about who called the shots. And that's where everything started to shift. Because once McCall realized his moves were being checked, he stopped playing by the rules.
Chris was upset about it, felt like it was a bad look. So he decided to call me on the phone and tell me how much of a bad look, but he didn't tell me in a professional way, so I had to, check him and let him know, don't ever talk to me like that again.
MC Call claims that during that heated phone call, Chris Brown crossed a line, threatening to shut him down completely. He allegedly told him he'd ruin his career and make sure the label never touched his name again. That's industry blackballing, plain and simple. For Kevin McCall, that hit different. He was raised in Watts, where standing your ground means everything, where respect is survival, and letting someone punk you isn't an option. So when Brown made that call, it wasn't just business anymore. It was personal. A direct violation of the code, and once that line got crossed, there was no going back.
I'm not Drake, I'm not Frank Ocean. Like, you're gonna run into me again.
Confrontation became the turning point. The exact moment everything shifted for good. McCall felt blindsided and disrespected, no longer treated like the collaborator or brother he believed he was. Instead, he felt like an employee being scolded, a man told to stay in line. And that cut deep. Worse yet, McCall started to believe there were bigger moves happening behind his back. He suspected Brown's manager was quietly sabotaging his solo career, blocking opportunities, shutting down projects, and whispering in the right ears to keep him stuck in place. The streets call that playing chess with someone's future. Then came the money issue, the real wound that never healed. Despite Deuces blowing up and crossing over 500 million streams on Spotify, McCall said he never saw the back end he was owed. No royalties, no fair cut. The hit that changed both their lives was still paying out, but not to him. According to McCall, the publishing deal under Chris Brown's company was straight up exploitative. He signed it young, hungry, and without proper legal advice, locked into a setup he barely understood. To him, it was another story of a talented kid getting caught in the system. A predatory deal that built empires for others while quietly destroying his own.
I mean, were you being offered publishing deals and stuff like that during this time?
I did a publishing deal through Chris. I didn't understand any of that. So everything was through Chris. And that's why what I was trying to get to is once me and his relationship kind of got funny, he kind of, you know, the business and stuff was all held up and messed up.
MC Call's deal with RCA, the same one built through Chris Brown's clout and connections, crumbled like a house of cards. He described it as grimy from the start, said he was never even officially listed as a signed artist on the label's website, that his recording budget somehow got drained by producers he didn't ask for, even though he produced his own beats. Promises made, promises broken. Classic industry games that leave talent empty-handed and bitter. But the hardest blow came later. McCall claimed Brown had his name quietly removed from songs like Look at Me Now, wiping out credits on records he helped create. It wasn't just business, it was erasure. For someone who'd poured his creativity and soul into those sessions, it felt like betrayal at the deepest level. To him, it was more than losing money. It was losing his name, his legacy, his proof that he was ever part of it all. Whether it was malice, mismanagement, or just the messiness of the music game, the result was the same. Kevin McCall got written out of his own story by the man he helped build. And that's the kind of betrayal you don't come back from. Not in this life, not in this game. Thanks for watching. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, because your support keeps it all moving.